This is Alex. He's 22 years old. He's sharp, he's ambitious, and he's about to walk through the doors of his first ever corporate job. The culmination of a 4-year degree, countless hours of studying, and one very polished resume. He's excited. He's ready. He feels like he's finally made it. But what Alex doesn't know is that he's not just starting a new job. He's stepping onto a cultural battlefield where unspoken rules are the weapons and generational misunderstandings are the landmines. Gen Z's first workplace culture shock. This is the true, or at least highly realistic story of one Gen Z employee's first day in a millennial-dominated workplace. It's a story about the subtle, awkward, and sometimes painful clashes that happen when two generations raised on different versions of reality try to speak the same professional language. Is this your company? Why do these generations so often miss the wave with each other? Don't miss out on insightful workplace culture analysis, and if you want to keep up with the future of work, watch our video. Now let's follow Alex inside. Morning the unspoken dress code. Alex walks into the office of Company X with a genuine smile. He's wearing a clean, high-quality graphic t-shirt, dark wash jeans, and fresh sneakers. The company website, after all, boasted a youthful and dynamic environment. To Alex, that meant authenticity was welcome. His outfit felt authentic. But as he's led through the open-plan office, a quiet sense of unease begins to creep in. He sees a sea of millennials people in their late 20s and 30s tapping away at their keyboards. They're wearing button-down shirts, blouses, chinos, and smart trousers. It's not a formal suit and tie environment, but it's a clear step up from his casual attire. His new manager, Ben, a millennial of about 30, greets him warmly. Alex, welcome to the team. We're so excited to have you. But as they shake hands, Ben's eyes give Alex's outfit a quick, almost imperceptible once-over. It's not a glare. It's not a judgment. It's just a glance. But in the silent language of the workplace, that glance speaks volumes. Alex's internal monologue kicks in. Oh no. Am I dressed inappropriately? Did I completely misread the vibe? He suddenly feels like he's wearing a neon sign that says, "The Intern." Ben, meanwhile, is thinking, he seems like a good kid, but this is a bit too casual for the office. I hope he picks up on the cues. I shouldn't have to say anything. And right there, we have our first clash. It's not about clothes, it's about communication, or rather the lack of it. This is the clash of the unspoken rule. For generations like Millennials and Gen X, part of starting a job was observing the environment and adapting to its norms. Dressing professionally wasn't just about appearance, it was a sign of respect for the role, a piece of corporate theater you performed to show you were serious. But Gen Z operates on an authenticity mandate. They've been told to bring their whole selves to work. When the stated culture says youthful, but the unwritten rule says business casual, it creates a trap. For Ben, expecting Alex to just figure it out is normal. It's how he learned. But for Alex, this silent expectation creates immediate anxiety, a feeling of being out of place before he's even logged into his computer. The first lesson of the day is learned in silence. The company's stated culture and its actual culture might be two very different things. 2. Mid-morning digital natives versus perceived laziness. After the initial introductions, Ben gets Alex set up at his new desk. The task is simple: log and get acquainted with the internal systems and read through some onboarding documents. For Alex, a true digital native, this takes about 45 minutes. He's been navigating complex digital interfaces since he could walk. He finishes the reading, clicks through every link, and then he's done. He looks around. Everyone else seems busy. Ben is in a meeting, so what does he do? He does what his generation does during a micro break. He pulls out his phone and starts scrolling through his Instagram feed. A few desks away, a millennial colleague notices. Her brow furrows slightly. A few minutes later, she quietly messages Ben on Slack. Hey, just a heads up, the new guy seems a bit distracted. He's been on his phone for a while now. When Ben returns, he approaches Alex's desk with a gentle coach smile. Hey, Alex, how's it going? Just remember, a first job always has a lot to learn. It's probably best to try and limit personal phone use during work hours. Alex's face flushes. Oh, I'm sorry. I finished all the onboarding documents you sent over. I was just taking a second before asking for the next thing. Ben is slightly taken aback. He expected a simple, okay, sorry. He didn't expect a justification, however polite. This is our second clash, the productivity paradox. For many managers, phone use at a desk is a visual shortcut for slacking off. A recent survey found that 50% of managers see excessive phone use as the biggest challenge with Gen Z employees. But for Alex, his phone isn't a distraction, it's an extension of his brain. It's a tool for a quick mental reset after a period of focus. Gen Z is hypercognitive masters of context switching, and they see no conflict between high efficiency and a 60-second scroll. The deeper issue here isn't the phone, it's the idleness. When Alex ran out of explicit tasks, he stopped. Some researchers and managers have observed this pattern, a kind of learned helplessness, where a new employee waits for the next command rather than proactively seeking it out. The millennial colleague and Ben interpret this idleness symbolized by the phone as a lack of initiative. Ben's gentle rebuke is also a classic millennial management tactic that can backfire. Gen Z thrives on direct, frequent, and crystal clear feedback. An indirect hint creates confusion. Is the rule no phones at all or just when I'm idle? Alex's direct reply is his attempt to get clarity. Realizing this, Alex switches tactics. Is there something else I can start working on now? He asks proactively. Ben, seeing the completed tasks and the new question, has a small epiphany. The problem isn't that Alex is lazy, it's that he's efficient and needs more work. The unspoken rule Alex learns is to always appear busy. The lesson for Ben is that direct questions deserve direct answers, and an efficient employee needs a plan for their downtime. 3. Lunchtime, the social chasm. At noon, a group of interns and other young, recently hired Gen Z employees invite Alex to lunch. He gratefully accepts. Sitting in the company cafeteria, they instantly connect. They talk about TikTok trends, share memes on their phones, and use slang that is a complete mystery to anyone born before 1997. Nearby, a millennial colleague from Ben's team is eating her salad. She overhears snippets of their conversation and feels a sense of disconnect. They seem like they're in their bubble, a closed-off club. Later that afternoon, she mentions it to Ben. The new group of young ones seems nice, but they're a bit hard to approach. They kind of stick to themselves. This is a minor clash, but it's an important one. It's the formation of social silos. For Alex and his new friends, this isn't intentional exclusion. It's a survival mechanism. In a new, slightly intimidating environment, they are building psychological safety by connecting with their peers. But for the millennial colleague who values collaborative, integrated teams, it looks like a failure to assimilate. She sees a potential threat to team cohesion. Ben recognizes this as an early warning sign. A Gen Z lunch table is a symptom of an onboarding process that hasn't proactively built cross-generational bridges. So he makes a plan. The next day, he'll organize a full team lunch, mixing everyone up. He also makes a mental note to gently remind his younger team members to be inclusive. The lesson is clear: social integration doesn't always happen organically. Sometimes it needs to be engineered through deliberate acts of leadership, like a shared meal, or even better, a formal buddy system from day one. 4. Afternoon, the challenger's voice. At 3 p.m., Alex is invited to his first team meeting. He sits in the corner laptop, open, diligently taking notes. The meeting is led by a senior boss, a Gen Xer in his late 40s. Ben and a few other millennials are at the table. The Gen X boss presents a new project plan and then asks the room, "Okay, thoughts, opinions?" Silence. The millennials nod thoughtfully, perhaps waiting for the right moment to speak or planning to discuss it with Ben later. But Alex, fueled by a generation's belief that his voice matters, sees an opening. The company brochure said it encourages initiative, right? He raises his hand. "I have a question about the marketing approach," he begins, his voice clear. "Based on what I've seen with similar campaigns targeting our demographic, I think we might be overlooking a key channel. Have we considered..." He lays out a concise, well-reasoned alternative. The room goes dead silent. The Gen X boss raises an eyebrow, a slight frown creasing his forehead. He's surprised that the person who started this morning is already challenging his plan. Ben looks momentarily frozen. But after a few seconds, the boss considers the point. "That's a valid point," he concedes. "Let's look into that." Alex feels a flash of pride, but it's short-lived. After the meeting, Ben pulls him aside. "Alex," he says, his tone gentle but serious. "That was a good point you made, but you're new here. In big meetings with senior leadership, it's often better to observe and learn first. Contributions are great, but you need to be tactful. You don't want the boss to get the wrong impression." Alex's heart sinks. He feels embarrassed, frustrated, and deeply confused. "But they asked for opinions. They said they value initiative." He goes home that day feeling disheartened, wondering if he's made a huge mistake and isn't a good fit for this company. This is the main event, the clash between Gen Z's expectation of a flat meritocratic culture and the unwritten rules of corporate hierarchy. Alex believed he was in a psychologically safe space to contribute. The reaction of the room and his manager told him that safety is conditional. It's a classic psychological safety paradox. Companies say they want fearless feedback, but their culture often subtly punishes it if it doesn't follow the invisible lines of power. Ben is caught in the middle. He's the cultural broker. He has to translate the complex game of workplace politics for Alex without crushing his spirit. Meanwhile, he stays late to write an email to HR. Suggest we add clearer guidance on meeting culture and feedback channels to the onboarding for new hires. 5. The next day, from conflict to coaching. The next morning, the air is still a bit tense. But instead of letting it fester, Ben does something different. He walks over to Alex's desk. Hey, got a minute? Let me buy you a coffee. Down in the cafe, Ben leans back in his chair. He starts, my first job I got chewed out by my boss in front of the whole department because I dared to argue a point with him. I felt about an inch tall. He shared his own story, he was vulnerable, and in that moment the dynamic shifted. Look, Ben continued, I love that you're not afraid to speak your mind. We need that energy. My only advice is about strategy. Here the unspoken rule is to run a big idea by your direct manager first. We can refine it together and then present it. In large meetings, it helps build credibility before you challenge the status quo. It all clicked for Alex. It wasn't that his contribution was unwelcome. It was about the method of contribution. He learned that tact wasn't about being silent. It was about being strategic. And Ben learned something too. He saw that Alex's directness wasn't disrespect. It was enthusiasm. He realized his role wasn't just to manage tasks, but to coach talent. He needed to be the mentor that Gen Z and millennials are actively seeking a guide, not just a supervisor. Alex walked back to his desk feeling confident, understood, and more loyal to his manager than ever. Ben felt energized knowing he had a dynamic new team member he could help shape. The culture shock was over. The real work had just begun. 6. Conclusion. Alex's first day culture shock passed, not because one side was right and the other was wrong, but because both were willing to be open. It was resolved through a manager who chose coaching over correcting and a new hire who was willing to learn the rules of a new game. So we have to ask, do you recognize yourself in this story? What was your first day at work like? Share it with everyone in the comments below and maybe tag a new hire or a mentor who needs to see this. If you found this video helpful, like and subscribe to the Gen Shift channel to catch our next episode. You won't want to miss it.